Well, hello there. It's David Bear with winebaer.net and Wine Conversations. And today we are talking with Bobby James. Bobby is known online and offline as the Redneck Wino. And he's here today to chat with us about his business, about how he came to wine, and what he does in the wine world now. So, hey, Bobby, welcome to the conversation.
Hey, David. It's a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate you inviting me.
Well, great, great. So, for those of our audience out there who don't know the Redneck Wino, how can you sort of sum up what you are, what your business is, briefly before we get into the full conversation?
Well, my title is Senior Wine Consultant, and I work with a Napa Valley-based winery called Wine Shop at Home. It's actually a direct sales company, so it's a home-based business. And basically, we offer exclusive, handcrafted wines not found in stores. We sell direct to consumer through the in-home wine tasting experience.
Cool. Well, so this is a brilliant and very different approach to wine than most people are used to because, we're used to either going to a restaurant or going to a wine shop or in some states, a grocery store, seeing wines out there that we may or may not recognize. But you're working with a lineup of wines. And now, are they all Napa Valley wines or are they produced from other places?
Yeah, we have several vineyards up and down the California coast, as well as other states and internationally. Our winemaker, his name is Alex Reble. I like to call it Rebel because that's the way it's spelled, and I can, as you might know, you might understand that I can relate to that.
Yep.
But he is direct from France. He worked in a couple of Bordeaux's. He's been a wine expert for many decades, and he's a master winemaker. He moved to Napa Valley somewhere around 95, 96. And he was working with a couple other wineries in Napa Valley. Wine Shop snapped him up, and he will never go anywhere else because he is our winemaker.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And so he formulates all of our wines. They're, as I said, they're all handcrafted, one-of-a-kind wines.
So, I was going down the path of there are many different channels by which wine can be sold. I mean, in small European villages, you may find a small winery. It's a family winery, and they sell stuff, out of the cellar door. They sell it directly to the local restaurants, and maybe that's about it. And then we see, the nationally and internationally distributed stuff. But this is just a different channel by which wine can be sold, and it's sold in a very clever way. It's direct sales that are happening both online, but more importantly, in-home tastings, and that's one of the vehicles that you used to develop your business and introduce people to wine. Can you talk about how that all works?
And I love to talk to people about that. Not only is it different, but it's educational. And it's a lot of fun. I like to tell people it's exactly like going to a winery, only totally different. Because what we do is we bring the winery to your home. Yep. So basically, the basic process is very simple. It's $50 and change for a 5-bottle sampler. So that's about $10 a bottle, and that includes tax and shipping, by the way. So it's very affordable for people. And as a thank you for hosting a tasting, the host gets a complimentary bottle, so it's actually 6 bottles for a little over $50. It's $50 and change.
Yeah.
And then basically, I just tell people to just invite a handful of people. I send you a pairing foods list. You buy some simple cheeses to pair with the wines, and then I come and I bring the sampler with me. I chill the whites. I bring the wine. I bring the education, and I bring the fun. We all enjoy some wines. We answer questions, whatnot. And then at the end of the tasting, people can order their favorites. We actually have a menu of more than 40 wines at one time. So you're not limited to the wines that you taste. You can order anything off the menu. And then those wines get shipped directly to the consumer's home. So we do, you can order by the bottle, you can order by the case. We do mixed cases. And of course, as you could imagine, we have a month-to-month wine club. We have gifts, gift baskets, gift boxes, the whole kit and caboodle.
Sure. So this is not by any means a new sales approach. I mean, this is harkens back to things like Tupperware or
Exactly.
and so people are familiar with having a presentation in their home, learning about stuff. I mean, the fact that back in the 50s we had those Tupperware parties, or people were doing jewelry parties and all sorts of things. This and wine. It sounds to me like a heck of a lot more fun than little plastic containers.
Oh, yes, it is, and that's I mean, it's real simple. It's wine.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we have a saying on Facebook and in our company. The saying is, "Wine is social."
Mm.
It's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of people out there that like wine.
So I want to get back to this conversation, but I want to backtrack a little bit because, and forgive me for saying this, but I'm looking at you for the first time via Skype, and you don't strike me as a wine guy from a first glance. So, so can you give me a little bit of history here? How did you get into wine, and what's this whole redneck thing about?
Well, thanks for asking, David. I appreciate that. I like to tell people that, and I haven't always liked wine. I didn't grow up liking wine. My uncle introduced me to wine. Oh gosh, it's been 20 years ago or so now. And when he introduced me to wine, it was actually, I believe it was Gallo, and it was Merlot. He actually had to talk me into doing that because I've always been a beer lover.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, okay, I'm kind of open. I'll try it. And I just, I was introduced to Merlot. Now, a lot of people, when they get introduced to wine, they go for the sweet stuff,
mm-hmm.
Because it's sweet grape juice, basically,
Sure.
And then they kind of expand their palate a little bit, and it takes a little time to grow into that. But I got dumped in the deep end, if you will. So I'm just, naturally, I'm a big, bold red lover. And Merlots, Tempranillos, those sort of things are what really tickle my palate. But my uncle introduced me to it, and when I got involved with Wine Shop at Home, been about a year and a half ago. It was May of 2013, and close to 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got involved with Wine Shop at Home, I expanded my palate even more, and more education, more types of wines and whatnot. So I tell people I've gone from being a beer lover who likes wine to being a wine lover who likes beer. So I still drink my beer, but if I'm at the end of the day and I want to sit and enjoy something, I'll have a glass of Merlot or Tempranillo or something like that.
Cool. So, you said that you've learned things along the way, and you have 40 plus, wines always available. So, what were the big surprises and discoveries? I mean, you've been doing this for a couple of years as a business, but when was it that you first had this wine epiphany with your uncle?
Oh gosh, that was. Well, it's been a couple of decades.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly when, but it's been a while.
Right. So along the way, you've made some interesting discoveries. Obviously, Tempranillo, not a grape variety native to North America, and one that a lot of people don't necessarily know. But what other discoveries have you made that you have fallen in love with or fallen for?
I really enjoy working with Wine Shop at Home. One of the things that they do is whenever they ship out the wines, they send tasting notes, recipes, those sort of things along with it.
Mm.
So one of the things that I have enjoyed discovering, if you will, is at a tasting, they send me cheater notes.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have to know everything. I just read from the notes, and I've learned different things about wine and how they're made, how they're aged, those sorts of things. And it's really opened me up to different things. And I am open enough to try different wines. I'm not a sweet wine drinker, but I'll try some of the sweets that we have at some of our tastings so that I can be more equipped to tell people about,
mm-hmm.
This is what this wine tastes like. This is the kind of thing that you might enjoy, because I find with our customers, I have a wide variety of customers. I have customers that like sweets. I have customers that will only drink reds, those sorts of things. And then I learned about people, which is what I love. I mentioned love meeting new people,
Yeah.
and I love that because every time I have a taste, I meet a whole new group of people, and then some of those people will have a tasting and introduce me to more new people. And I get to learn people's likes and dislikes and what they like in wine and so forth because, as you know, everybody has different tastes, and that's perfectly fine. In fact, at our tastings, we like to tell people we only have two rules. One is don't yuck anybody else's yum because everybody has different tastes.
I love that. Don't yuck anybody else's yum. That's one we're going to have to write down. Okay. And rule number 2?
Rule number 2 is it's okay if you don't know something because I brought a spittoon. Actually, it's a dump bucket.
That's great. Do you teach people how to spit wine out?
Well, no, we don't spit. What we do is we dump. If you don't like something, you may dump it in the bucket.
Right.
But you want to check with your neighbor because you might get in trouble. And then I also tell everybody, don't worry about it. We'll make sangria out of that a little bit. And if you get the ooze out of the way right away.
Well, that's good. So, from what I'm hearing, it doesn't sound like there is any reason that anybody should have any intimidation from participating in one of your events. Now, there are wine professionals out there, and I'm one of them, who teach in-depth, sort of detailed wine classes. Everything from wine growing to cellar work and all of that sort of stuff in between, food and wine pairing, all of this stuff, and that stuff is interesting. But for a lot of people out there, it's overwhelming and intimidating. And it sounds to me like this may be the perfect solution for people who really don't want the formality of education, but want to learn more and enjoy it while they're learning.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head there because the gentleman that I work with, his name is Nelson Lopez. I'm on his team, and he refers to himself as a cork dork, which he's more like you in that he wants to know everything,
Sure.
and he does in-depth study, and he shares that information with people when he does a tasting, which is fine. But like you say, there's a lot of people out there who maybe they want to dip their toe, so to speak, and they want to get more education or they want to try it, but at the same time they want to do something with their friends that's unique, kind of out of the box, if you will, and have fun at the same time. And so that's where I come in. That's my approach. And you were asking me about the redneck thing.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm just a regular guy, and that's what I want people to know. Lately I've been running across people that, I would never have anybody called a Redneck Wino at my house because, the connotation. What's a redneck?
Sure. What's
a wino? And you get those ideas or pictures in your head, maybe somebody that rides around with a shotgun in his truck and, he's swilling down the still dry, whatever. Or a wino who's just homeless and sitting on the street. But I want to change people's perception of what that is. I'm just a regular guy who likes wine. That's the definition of the Redneck Wino.
Right. Well, that's great. And you have a great marketing angle too, because your name of your business is going to resonate with a certain type of crowd that has the interest in engaging in a fun approach to wine. If you were the corporate wine, keynote speaker, it would attract a very different crowd, obviously. So yeah. I think you've figured out the angle. Now, you've been doing this for a couple of years as a business. You've been interested in wine for a while now, a couple of decades. You said since your uncle introduced you to all of this. How did you come around to doing this as a business?
I appreciate that you asked that because it's funny because I'm still doing this, but I've known Nelson for I don't know, close to 4 years now.
Okay.
Maybe 5. I'm terrible with dates, so forgive me. But I just count that as getting old. So, but last, as I mentioned, May of 2013. Actually, this goes back to January. My wife and I hosted a wine tasting just to support my friend's business.
Okay. So you were customers of Nelson? Is that okay?
Yeah. And so I said, you know what? I'm just going to have a tasting just to support his business. So he came. We had a few friends in the room, and one of the things that we do at a tasting is we cover the 4 S's of wine tasting.
Go ahead. Let's hear the 4 S's.
So, as you know, it's see, swirl, smell, and sip.
Mm-hmm.
So, as we were covering those 4 S's, he was telling people what they were, and he was holding up the glass, and he's swirling. He says, now, does anybody know what we're doing as we're swirling the wine? So there were different answers, opening it up, introducing air, all that sort of thing. And he says, anybody know the technical term? So, of course, we're all shaking our heads, and he said it's called volatilizing the esters. And, of course, it's my party. So I was the rowdy one of the bunch.
Yep.
And I just yelled out, violating your Aunt Esther.
Okay, now I see where the redneck comes in.
There you go. So, and one of the things I like to share with people when I do a tasting, and it's somebody was always asked, I say, anybody heard the 4S, the redneck 4 S's of wine tasting? And there's always one in the room. I want to hear it, so I have to put that out at the tasting.
I'm all ready. I don't know if I have to book you for a tasting to actually hear them, or if you're going to tell us now.
I'll share it with you, David. I'll share it with you. So it's sight, slang, snort, and slug. But see, you got to do it with the accent, otherwise it loses something in translation. So.
Right. Oh, I love it.
But
Thanks,
so as I mentioned, I was the rowdy one at our tasting, and so afterwards, Nelson sat us down, and he says, you guys would be great at this business.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, my wife was working for a company that she didn't really enjoy. So we talked about it. We decided to start the business together, which we did in May.
Mm-hmm.
And we did it for a while together. And the fun thing, it was a lot of fun for me, because the fun thing about it was at a tasting, as I mentioned, I have these notes. And I would mispronounce things.
Yep.
Not on purpose. That's the redneck side of me, okay? So, I tell people, I'm just a dumb redneck. If I can do this business, anybody can do this business. But my wife would correct me.
Mm-hmm.
People got a kick out of that. We were like a comedy team, you know? She was the straight man.
Mm-hmm.
But, in October, she got a job with another company, and it's a position where, it's a mental thing. She's an office manager. She uses QuickBooks. She does a lot of work. So when she gets home at night, she's just exhausted. So, she told me in January of 2014, she just can't do both.
Mm-hmm.
So she kind of backed it down. I really miss us working together, because, even though I do have fun with people and I do entertain, because I've been an entertainer all my life.
Yep.
And I enjoy making people laugh. That's what I do. But I do miss working with my wife.
Well, it sounds like you can do a little reunion tour or something like that, and get her back on. Well, cool. So you mentioned that you've been an entertainer. So what other work have you've done? I mean, I'm guessing that there's music somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was raised with a couple of uncles that were on the Grand Ole Opry when they were young.
Okay.
So, I come from a singing family, and in the mid-'90s, I had a band. I've been a singer-songwriter for a good part of my life,
mm-hmm.
and I had a band. We toured clubs and whatnot through Ventura County, mid to late 90s. And in 99, I produced my own CD, which took a lot. It was a couple of years in the making.
Yep.
Called Life Lessons, and I enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do too much About the only singing I do now is what I call karaoke. And my wife also sings, and that's another thing I'm trying to talk her into is putting a band back together and going on the road.
Right.
But yeah, she's pretty stubborn. She likes that job that she's working. I have a friend that says he has connections with The Voice, and so I've been trying to talk her into putting together a demo and go and doing The Voice. I think we would be a big hit, but she doesn't want to be famous. So
right.
I can't share that.
Well, that's all right. Now you just have to figure out an angle to get wine wrapped into that too. Who knows? Who knows how you'll do that? Well, cool. So let's talk a little bit about the work that you do with your customers who will book you for an event at their house. It's do you call it a wine party? Do you call it a presentation? Do you call it an educational event? What do you call those?
I refer to it as a private wine tasting.
Okay.
And the reason for that is, well, number one, it's private. It's in a person's home.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of, for me, the company term is in-home wine tasting.
Okay.
I like to call it a private wine tasting because that lends more of a sophisticated type event.
Sure.
In my opinion. And, it's more intimate.
Yep.
A lot of things that, I shouldn't say a lot of things, but one of the things that happens a lot, let me put it that way, is when I talk to people, first of all, this is a different concept, as you were mentioning. It began in 2004 with the in-home wine tasting model
mm-hmm.
with Wine Shop at Home, so it is kind of in its infancy.
Sure.
We have a little over 3,000 wine consultants across the nation. So, with the population, that's just a drop in the bucket. That's not even a drop.
Yeah.
So just barely scratching the surface. So a lot of people haven't even heard of this concept. Yep. So having a private wine tasting with a few people, I'd stress, that we have a lot of fun. We do some education along the way, and you can order your wines and have them delivered to your home.
Mm-hmm.
That's unique for a lot of people. So people enjoy that kind of angle.
Sure.
Kind of thing.
Sure. And like I said at the beginning of our conversation, wine is everywhere. You can go in many places, around the country. You can go to the grocery store and pick up wine.
Right.
Every publication that I get now, Food and Wine Magazine, New York Times, they all have wine clubs. So there's plenty of opportunity for people to access wine. Here, I think you have an angle of an experiential wine sort of thing. That sorry, I just had a little incoming call there. We need to.
I was wondering if that was
me. No, it's actually me, and it should be going away, but I forgot to close my browser there. So okay, there we go. I thought I closed everything down in anticipation of our conversation.
Apparently, you're a musician too, Dave.
Apparently. Apparently. No, I always prepare for these calls, and then I realize, I left something on in the background. Usually it's Skype, and so we're talking on
right.
Skype today. I realized, I don't need to shut down Skype. So, but of course I forgot to shut something else off. Well, there you go.
That's okay. I go to wine tastings, and I think I got everything covered, and I'll do the same thing.
Exactly.
I forgot my notes the other day when I did a tasting.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm winging it.
Right. I've done that. I've forgotten a wine key, and I realized, how the heck am I going to open this bottle? And I show up for the tasting, and luckily it's all screw tops that I'm pouring that day. So I'm just in luck. Well, good. So here's where I was going with this. It's obviously a lot about, as your company says, a lot about the experience, the personal interaction of engaging with wine, and that's great. But I think that there's lots of different types of people out there who can benefit from an introduction to wine. As we talked a little bit earlier, it's not stuffy, it's not academic, and so there's consumers out there. But I imagine that there's probably businesses and other folks out there, so not necessarily a home tasting, but it could probably, I don't know, are you allowed to do corporate events and that sort of thing too?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, one of the things that I'm focusing on, we offer a product that allows you to personalize the label. We have 4 wines. On the red side, we have a Cab, Merlot, and on the white side is a Sparkling and a Chardonnay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the products that I am focusing on promoting to business professionals, especially. Because you can put anything on that label. You can
Sure.
put your family's picture on there and say, Merry Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Send those out to family, whatever you want to do. You order those by the half case or by the full case, and we do mixed cases on those as well. But for business professionals, and especially like I'm working with a lot of real estate agents
Mm-hmm.
who use those wines as a closing gift. They'll sell a house, and they'll present the new homeowner with a bottle of wine that has their business logo on it and a message, something like "Welcome Home" or something like that. Something personal.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll give that bottle to the client. And a lot, what we find is happening with real estate agents, especially, is those clients will not open up that wine. They'll display it like a trophy because it's special.
That's good and bad, I guess, right?
Yeah, so they'll display those wines like I say, as a trophy.
Sure.
People show up, they see that on the bottle, and they go, "Wow, I want to work with this person." So, I get in my head that, hey, you know what? We can open this up to professionals in general, doctors, financial planners, CPAs, anybody with a database of clients that you buy gifts for. This is a very unique idea.
Yeah.
And they're quality wines, and so what I've been doing locally here is I'll do a presentation in an office, and we can order the professional sampler. Like I mentioned, it's 4 bottles, and it's $10 more.
Okay.
So it's still an affordable sampler, and then you get to try the wines, and And here's the thing I do with professionals: I say, it's not about you; it's about your clients.
As is the case in any business.
Yeah. So I'm going to order a case of Merlot because that's what I'm going to give it to my client who only likes sweet wine. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I tell people, keep in mind the clients that you're working with. The benefit of having a tasting is that you get to try the wine.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have a client, let's say, that likes a sweeter type of wine, you go, well, you know what? I know which one is sweet. It's the sparkling, and that's what I'm going to give to that particular client. So, the benefit of trying those wines is so you know what to give to your client. You know what they like. You know which wine to present to your client. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's marketing in general, is that you're not thinking about what's going to resonate with you. It's thinking about what your prospect or your customer is going to be most interested in. And so I love the idea of using this as either a thank you gift or a lead generation for any professional. And then I'm thinking of other possibilities. I'm sure, wedding gifts, or well, I was going to say door prizes.
That's too. That's a heck of a door prize.
Right. But personalizing a label really can work very effectively, and it is totally different from everything else out there. It's so much nicer than a keychain or a coaster or whatever else you might be able to give away to people.
Exactly.
So that's great.
And they make great. I was gonna say gifts, but they for any kind of occasion, weddings, as you mentioned.
Sure.
You can put a picture of the bride and groom on there. They make great thank you gifts for wedding parties.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy doing tasting for wedding parties. I would love to do that. I haven't had the opportunity to do many of those, but I put the word out there because that's something that I want to open up to.
Sure.
And anniversaries, birthdays, what have you, any kind of a party that you're having for people that you want to say thank you, or you want something special on hand that you can give to people.
Mm-hmm.
They make it's a great thing to have on hand.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, a couple of points of clarification. Now, you said there's around 3,000 people out there who are working with your company, representing these wines, doing local events. I imagine you're not flying or jet setting all over the country doing this. So you're in what part of the country where you do your events?
I'm in Southern California. Mm-hmm. I'm in Ventura County, a town called Simi Valley.
Okay.
And so I work locally as tasting goes. As far as team building, we have a list of states. I have that on one of my links where people can go and fill out the form. And there's a list of states that we actually work in.
So when you say team building, you're talking about other people who might be interested in working in this business with you.
Correct.
Great.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so, like I mentioned, there's about 35 states that we can host tastings and ship to.
Okay.
So I know one lady on Nelson's team actually has a team in Maryland that has been going very strong for a couple of years, and she's here in California. So, basically it's open to anybody over the age of 21.
Right.
And, and like I say, I mean, there's two requirements. If you like people and you're qualified.
Yeah.
We offer, as you might imagine, we offer all kinds of training and support. It's, it's not rock. It's very easy for somebody to get into and to conduct the business.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm open to building my team across the nation.
Cool. Now, before we went on air, you were telling me an interesting story about. I said, do you just do tastings locally? And you said, well, actually, there was this one tasting. So I'd love for you to share that with the audience here, because it was a fascinating approach to doing a remote wine tasting. I love it.
Well, and I'm open to doing that. I just don't know what the parameters are
right.
as far as the company is concerned. But what I mentioned to you was I have a business contact out of state, and he is interested in the personalized wine.
Sure.
So I had the sampler shipped to him, and we actually conducted the tasting via Skype, like you and I are talking now. And so, basically I just told him that he had to be my eyes and ears. So he was my pan of white. He did all the pouring, and I said, okay, now look at this, and show him that, and and I was actually conducting the tasting, just like you and I are doing right now.
Right.
And I could see the group. He set up the camera so that I could see the room, and there were a couple of people off screen, and I'd see a hand come in and wave on the side and what have you.
Right.
But it worked out pretty good, and so I'm looking into some kind of format where I can manage that a little bit better, because we did run into a couple of things, but it was interesting, and it was new and different.
Well, it sounds like fun doing a remote wine tasting. I recall several years ago sitting around a big conference room with a bunch of wine sales reps, and we had the winemaker, there on. It was pre inexpensive video conferencing or free video conferencing. So we had like a big speakerphone in the middle of the table, and the winemaker was walking us through the tasting for all the sales reps. I like this approach a little bit better. It's great to be able to interact, on video, talking to people at the other end there. So I think
the only trick to that is, when I'm doing wine tasting, I pour 1 ounce samples. So there's there's that one little niche where you have to teach people how to pour 1 ounce. and not full glass.
Right. That can be a trick. Otherwise, there's a great deal of consumption going on, and we don't want that.
Exactly.
So, well, cool. Hey, Bobby, we're coming to the end of our time together. I want to make sure that people know where they can find out more about you, and obviously, that personalized label thing sounds really cool. So we'll throw up a link for that, and then how can people find out more about what you do and to learn more about getting in touch with you and following up either on working in the business with you or if they're local in your area to engage you for an event?
I appreciate you asking me that, David. Of course, I'm on Facebook. On Facebook, if you look up Redneck Wino on Facebook, I'm the only one, so that's easy. But and it's real simple. If you're interested in any more information, I like to talk to people one-on-one, communicate with people. So I set up a form that you can go and fill out, and it is learn more, that's one word, learn more, .redneckwino, WINO at the end there, .com.
Very easy.
And
okay.
for the personalized wines, it's real simple as well. It's PW, stands for personalized wine, pw.redneckwino.com.
Brilliant. All right. Well, we'll make sure to leave links for all of those things, Facebook and those two links that you just mentioned with this video, so people can get to them easily. Any last words of wisdom that you'd like to share with our audience, whether it's about their first experience with wine, whether it's about doing a wine event in their home? Love to hear your comments before we wrap up.
Well, one thing I would say to people is just be open to new experiences. I mean, that's just life in general, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has different tastes, and that's okay. As I mentioned before, we talk about that at our tastings, but, just be open to new experiences, whether it's having a wine shop at home tasting in your home or just trying new things.
Mm-hmm.
Because, one of the things I did want to mention was I've run into people that they don't drink wine because of one reason or another. It makes them nauseous, or they get headaches, or what have you. And, I found that is the sulfite thing with the wines.
Yep.
Our wines have very, very, very little sulfite in them. And I've had people that don't like wine come to me and say, I don't like wine, but they try our wine, and I've got a couple of clients that ended up buying cases and cases, and I've done like 12 or 15 different tastings with them. So, just leave yourself open for new experiences. That's the joy of life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely right. There's a sommelier I've worked with out in Toronto who does personal pairings for people, and he talks about the fact that he's never going to be able to recommend one specific wine because there's over 1 million different labels available in North America alone any given year. So what you have to offer may be very different from what those people have experienced in the past, and just being open-minded is and open to the idea of a new experience, especially the type of experience that you offer, sounds like the right approach. So great advice. I've really enjoyed the conversation, and I hope that our viewers will go ahead and click on those links and come visit you, maybe get in touch with you on Facebook, and see a little bit more about what your world is all about. So, hey, Bobby James, thank you so much for spending some time with me and with my audience, and I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be with us.
Well, you're welcome, David, and again, I want to thank you for having me. Enjoyed the conversation as well, and thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Well, you have a great one. Take care now.
Yep.
Bye.